Canon is in trouble, and I'm here today to talk to you about it. Would you trust a man that drinks 7-Eleven coffee? I don't know if I would. The label out, looking for that 7-Eleven sponsorship, 7-Eleven Japan specifically, or Lawson Station, or Family Mart. I'll take any of them. We're here to talk about something. I took an Uber to Dumbo, Brooklyn today. We're here in New York City for Fuji X Summit, which is tomorrow, so there'll be a video coming out. Also, B&H, we're doing a meetup. Omar, myself, and whoever wants to come. So if you're in New York City, come on through. B&H Photo, 5 p.m. today. And the date is on the screen, so don't show up if it's 5 p.m. and you're watching this 3 days from posting of this video. It is 5 hours from the posting of this video. You can come hang out if you want. And I was doing some black and white photography for the film photography road trip. You can watch season 1 right here if you wish. And while doing black and white photography, obviously you think a lot about Canon while shooting Fujifilm cameras. Also, not to completely derail this, but check out this. This is a Fujifilm camera. It's a golf camera. It has 16 frames with 16 lenses. I was thinking a lot about Canon. That's the last time that I'll derail the conversation, I promise. Here's a photograph of Sam Hurd. And I saw the Petapixel article this morning, which is what triggered this, that Canon is now officially, openly pursuing legal action against lens manufacturers that did specifically autofocus lenses for the RF system. As you know, if you're a follower of the channel, I love the Samyang 85 1.4, and it's probably my favorite lens for the entire RF system. The problem is, and we'll go a little bit more into kind of all the layers of this, is that if there are no third-party lenses available, obviously Canon controls a monopoly on the RF mount, so you buy a Canon R6 like we're filming this on right now. By the way, I love Canon products, and that's part of the problem that you're going to hear about in this video. But you're buying into a monopoly where they set the entire market. You have no third-party options. So you buy a Canon R6, all of a sudden you can buy Canon-only lenses. And that is not even a little bit of a struggle. I know that that's openly something that people consider when making a purchasing decision, specifically Canon R6 versus the Sony a7 IV. What one are you going to go for? Sony has 70 lenses. You can get Tamron, Sigma, everything. Canon, you can do the 1.8 if it exists, or the L version of it, and you can spend a lot of money. So they are creating a monopoly, I guess, of themselves. And to kind of bring this back to what I'm thinking, or at least what I was thinking about on my walk, is the past number of years in photography. So I shot Nikon digital SLRs pretty much from 2005 up until 2020. And at the end, at 2020, when the digital SLR was finally being retired from all brands, I would say that Nikon, the D850, is and will forever be the best digital SLR ever made. Nikon, top of the game. What was happening behind the scenes is that Sony was quickly gobbling up all market share. So as everyone was moving to mirrorless, Sony was already years and years ahead. They had mirrorless, they were already on generation 2 of a number of their lenses. And by the time the mirrorless switch came, they were doing incredibly well, if not number 1 in most markets. Canon quickly played catch up, and they've done very, very well. And during this time that Sony was coming up from behind, camera stores, physical camera stores, were slowly disappearing. So I would say that one of the key factors to Sony rapidly accelerating and gaining market share was the fact that you couldn't go into a camera store and you couldn't hold a Nikon digital SLR versus a Sony a7. If you could have done that and you were no longer just comparing on spec sheet, I feel like Sony would not have had such a rapid acceleration into market share. But now we move into the problem for me, and I think a lot of consumers. This is also just speaking from kind of what I'm seeing the market do, as well as some market research. My wife shoots Canon, Tim shoots Canon, Marshall, everyone that we work with pretty much shoots Canon. And everyone at some point has mentioned this, and if my small test group of audience is 100% for this, then I would suspect that scales out, maybe not at 100%, but we've all kind of been like, it's a real bummer. The Tamron and Sigma, they can't develop for the RF mount. And I would say maybe the key piece of this entire video is how it is hurting brand perception and how it is making people not like Canon as a brand. I know that this might seem outlandish. You're like, why would I not like a brand? I guarantee you, if you were a Nikon shooter and you love Nikon and someone's trying to push Sony on you, you'd be like, I hate Sony. Or if you're a Sony shooter, you guys got really aggressive for a short period of time there. I'm happy things have mellowed out now. That Sony was the best in the world and nothing else could even compare. And for the most part, those thoughts, those feelings aren't based on one specific thing a brand did, but a collection of things that gave you those feelings towards that brand. And I will say right now that Canon is really screwing that up. That looking at the industry, Canon feels very much to me like they're in a place of fear, that they're very much protecting and that they're trying to fight everybody. And that's great for quarter two sales, but for the longevity of a brand, it unfortunately is going to sour a lot of people against it. Nikon, as of a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even this week, has announced that Tamron is now developing for the Z mount, Z mount. I guess I'm in America, I can say Z now. And maybe that starts with a license for Tamron to do lenses that aren't going to compete directly with their Pro line, but at least it's a step in the positive direction to actually having more choice for the customer. So by Canon locking everything down, all it is doing is making us as photographers feel exploited, and that we are now, that we purchased into this weird monopoly and we can only purchase from Canon, where in previous life, we were, if you shot digital SLR, there were many, many options of lenses to choose from. And that if you bought into a system, yes, obviously you're gonna buy some Canon lenses for it, but also you're gonna look at that Tamron 35-1.4 because it's real nice. So by Canon now officially acknowledging the fact, rather than hiding the facts, which if you've been following the channel, that the Samyang basically a year, maybe a year and a half, disappeared from the Samyang website, but was still on the Rokinon website, and then disappeared from the Rokinon website, and then maybe 6 months ago, whenever I put out a video about it, disappeared from stores at like B&H and Adorama and a lot of online retailers, and it became kind of like, if you like that lens, buy a few. Now, my fear is that Canon is in this such protective, fear-based space that they're going to do something like, if you updated your firmware, it was a couple firmware updates ago on the R6, it actually broke the Samyang 85-1.4. It made it only read, I think, F0 or F22 or something. It wouldn't allow full functionality of the lens. They quickly rolled out an update after, I believe, quite a significant uproar from their customers. And I fear that they could just do this again. That if they, at any moment, are like, well, now that we've won this legal battle, we're just going to shut down all the lenses. So if you want to update your camera, you want the new firmware, unfortunately, you have to buy our glass. And I honestly feel like that is the direction they're going. Maybe to speak to at least kind of what I'm seeing in the industry now. So I feel like everything comes in waves. So Sony came in pretty hot. If you're not a Sony shooter, you were kind of upset about that. You didn't like that. So you had some weird mixed feelings. Oh my God, did that coffee cup just move? So you had some mixed feelings about the brand. And you didn't really like them, probably. If you're a Sony shooter, you got into it. It's the opposite. You didn't really like what else was going on in the industry, and you thought Sony was the best. And I feel like Fuji, to speak because we're here at X Summit, they've always just, no one hates Fuji. Everyone loves Fuji. I haven't met a single human being in photography that's like, I hate Fujifilm cameras. That's not a thing that anyone has ever said, I don't think. So what they're doing, I believe to be very right. They're also not necessarily playing the game that everyone else is playing, which I think is really, really awesome. That they're playing the APS-C game, they're dominating that market, they're creating a very specific product, and then they're like, we're gonna do medium format too. We're just gonna ignore full frame. And I can pretty much, unless you've had a terrible experience, probably with a used product from Fuji that someone else broke and sold, you've probably had a great experience with their camera. You probably love what the brand does. You probably love the history. Where's my hat? You probably love this hat. You probably want it. It's from the 90s. BJ Photo, my local camera shop, found this in their attic whenever we were doing the Fujifilm X Hatus review in Iceland. And I feel like that is a good space for your brand to be in. Find what you do and do good things for the community. Make people feel nice about themselves. Make them feel included. And that's what you do. Sony, I think, has also been doing a great job of this recently. Specifically, Kando trip that we were at last week. It's incredible. The fact that Sony definitely loses millions of dollars to run that event, to bring everyone there, to set up all the shoots, and they expect nothing from creators. Obviously, we're all together, we're gonna create stuff, but there's no like signed contract that's like, I must create 3 videos, 4 reels. So now, in my mind, when I put the 2 key players, I would say, Sony versus Canon, number 1 and number 2. Nikon, we'll talk about them in a second again. I have better feelings towards Sony. Is that where Sony was? Whatever. I have better feelings towards Sony rather than Canon, even though I do shoot Canon products. I just feel generally, I don't know, gray, not excited necessarily about the company. Nikon, very much enjoying what they've been doing. They're, with the Z9, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with a mirrorless camera. And I am very interested, again, like back to the waves, is that Nikon, best of the best, and I don't know, tallest poppy syndrome. You don't want some camera brand to just be the best forever. So as they start to come down, all of a sudden they're going to find that underdog group that was kind of the ones that were pushing Sony, all the Sony people that came together that were like, this is the underdog brand and it's the best in the world. And they're going to become very, very passionate about that. And I can see that. I see that on YouTube. I see that in real life. And Nikon is now making incredible products. It was a slow start. We used the Z6. We definitely got by with it. The Z6 II was a huge improvement. And the Z9 is just, again, I guess I'm in America. The Z9 is an incredible piece of technology. And with Tamron being able to license the lens mount to develop a few lenses, I am very, very excited for the future of that. Maybe this was also Nikon's idea that they were going to lock it down, that only they were going to develop for Z mount. And maybe they were pushed into this from a brand standpoint that they had to open up the mount. They had to start licensing it in order to actually continue to profit and to continue to gain new customers. And I think it's the correct thing to do, even if they were pushed against it. And I'm sure the board sat there and they were like, there was no way we're going to let this happen. And the numbers came back, and here's the truth, that if you don't allow this to happen, unfortunately, you're going to remain on course number 3. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Sorry, this was a boring talking head and we didn't go walk around New York City. We could have, but I had an hour to film and record this video. And come by B&H, 5 p.m. today. Omar, he'll be there. I'll be there. We tried to get Manny Ortiz, but he lands at 5:30, so we couldn't get him. John Branch, tomorrow morning. Try to do videos with them, but tomorrow is going to be an action-packed day. Drop any comments you have in the comments below. I would love to hear your take on it and your feelings towards Canon, and if you're a Canon shooter or if you're not a Canon shooter, what you see either in your mind right now or in your local market. I'd be very, very interested. Thanks for watching. See you again tomorrow, I guess.